The Seattle Mariners roster is chock full of quality players at every single position and in the starting rotation, as well as the bullpen. But in this video, we're going to break down the top 5 position players for the Seattle Mariners according to me. You're not going to see Luis Castillo or George Kirby on this list. Once again, this is just position players, and one final caveat here, that this is not going to include players that are free agents. So obviously this is subject to change. I am recording this on the 21st of October. Of course, Mitch Haniger is going to be a free agent, so I am not including him in this list. When the Mariners signed Aaron Judge, Trey Turner, Xander Bogaerts, Dansby Swanson, and Carlos Correa, all 5 of them this offseason, that'll be our top 5. But for right now, coming in at number 5 for me is going to be shortstop John Paul Crawford. Now, JP was playing in his age 27 season. He played in 145 games, so almost a full season, 126 hits, and JP did slug 6 home runs with 68 walks to only 80 strikeouts, which is just something you don't see in today's game. Now, JP did struggle a little bit at the plate. He hit 243, 339, 336 with a 625 OPS, good for a 100 OPS plus, meaning that he is league average. I can feel the looks boring into my skull right now, but Colton, he's just league average. What do you mean he is the 5th best player on this team? Listen, friends, okay, listen, Mariner Mojoites? What do you guys want to be called, by the way? The Mojonians? I don't know. JP Crawford is going to get on base, he's going to take his walks, and he's going to play in nearly every single game. In the last 3 years with the Mariners, he has played in nearly every game for the team. Obviously in 2020, shortened 60-game season, 2021, 160 games of 162, and 2022, 145 games. Obviously JP was hurt a little bit, and he also had that suspension going on for whatever the heck happened in Anaheim. But the fact of the matter is that JP Crawford is going to be out there for you almost every single day, and you know what you're going to get. And I think JP is a pretty solid 9-hole hitter, and if you need to, you can put him up in the leadoff spot. I also think that his defensive prowess, while it hasn't been as good over the past 2 years, I think that defensively JP is still one of the best in the game. Of course, there is a good chance that JP gets switched off of shortstop coming into next year, but we'll just have to wait and see. Number 4 on my list is going to be good vibes only himself, Eugenio Suarez. Now, Gino played in his age 30 season in 150 games of the possible 152, and we all know how good Gino was this year. Of course, the strikeout number, very, very high, but that's okay when you're getting a 236, 332, 459 player with a 129 OPS plus. Gino slugged 31 home runs with 87 RBIs and was a force in the middle of that Mariners lineup, and honestly, I will be the first to tell you that I did not see his ability at third base coming the way it did. When the Mariners took on the trade with the Cincinnati Reds, Jesse Winker was the gem in that trade, with Eugenio Suarez being the throwaway contract. But my, how the turntables. Once again, Gino was the force in that lineup, and I remember at the end of the year when he was out with that broken fingertip, the Mariners missed him so bad. Other than that, however, you could see Gino every single night, day in and day out, bringing good vibes to the field, good vibes to the fans, and of course, smashing home runs. And only a few players at the end of the 2022 season, after they lost to the Astros at home in an 18-inning marathon, only a few players came out and gave their love to the fans, Gino being one of them. I have never seen a player take up a fan base under their wing so quickly and become a fan favorite as fast as Eugenio Suarez did, but alas, I'm just happy he's ours. Number 3 on my list is our boy, Big Dumper Cal Raleigh. Drought buster Cal Raleigh. Cal Raleigh was 25 years old in 2022. He played in 119 games with a 211, 284, 489 slash line, good for a 122 OPS plus. Of course, Cal also set the Mariners record for the most home runs by a catcher in a single season at 27. And honestly, I really did think about putting Cal at number 2. At this point, you can probably guess who 1 and 2 are, but stick around just in case. And the fact that Cal played with his finger basically falling off on his catching hand, his thumb that had a torn UCL and a fracture in it, I think that just goes to show how important Cal was to this team, because while Cal wouldn't take himself out of the lineup, we also knew that the Mariners with Kurt Casale and Luis Torrens catching, it was not going to fly. And in the postseason, Cal really made a name for himself at the catching position. Of course, he's been nominated for a Gold Glove at this point. We also saw just how important he was to the Mariners throughout the postseason, especially hitting a home run in his first postseason at bat. And then, of course, everybody calling him Big Dumper. I mean, I don't think I have ever heard a broadcast like that in the postseason. They're like talking about this guy's ass. They're just talking about this guy's voluptuous butt. It's absolutely crazy. His slash line does not go to show how good Cal was, because of course he did struggle when he first came up this year, But alas, after a week down before Tom Murphy got hurt, Raleigh became a force for the Seattle Mariners in that lineup, and for a better part of the year did hit cleanup as well. Before we get into our next two players, hey, are you subscribed to the channel? If you're not, why don't you just go over there and just click that little subscribe button and like the video as well. Coming in at number 2 for us is Vive la France, Ty France. Now, you probably saw this coming. The top 2 players are going to be the 2 All-Stars for the Seattle Mariners. And with that being said, at the time of making this video, sure they're the top 2, but I have a good feeling that this is going to change here in the next couple of months, and Ty France could get pushed back to 3 or even 4 on that list. Ty France made his first All-Star team in 2022 at the age of 27. France played in 140 games, hitting at 20 home runs with 84 RBIs. He walked 35 times and did strike out 94 times. He ended up hitting 276, 340, 437 with a 126 OPS plus. I also do think that Ty France should be nominated for a Gold Glove at first base. I don't know what MLB's doing, but alas, that's MLB. And for most of the year, Ty France was hitting right around 300, his career norm, which is crazy to think about a 300 hitter playing first base like that. But Ty France's bat to ball skills are just so much better than pretty much everyone else in the league. I mean, that's what happens when you train with Tony Gwynn as your coach. France, of course, did have that wrist injury that he sustained in Oakland, and I think he also may have hurt it again against Cleveland. Don't quote me on that, but I know that his wrist was a big problem for him throughout the season. And France would not admit that it was affecting him that much. He would always be like, no, I just suck right now. The fact of the matter is, Ty France was hurting, and he wasn't going to tell anybody about it, but he was. While you're not going to see France slug for a ton of power, you're going to see him make contact, drive in runs in the big moments, and just be a clutch player on this team. He is integral to the future of the Seattle Mariners, and while I would love to see an extension for him with Evan White still waiting in the wings, I'm worried that the Mariners may not end up extending him, and he might leave the Mariners in 2026 as a free agent. He was a 3-WAR player this year, and only one player on the team had a higher WAR than he did. I bet you can guess who it was. If you guessed stud outfielder Julio Rodriguez, then by golly, you were right. And if you didn't guess Julio, what were you doing? Julio doubled Ty France's WAR with a 6 WAR on the year. He played in 132 games at 21 years old, made his first All-Star team. Julio hit 284, 345, 509 with a 147 OPS plus, slugging 28 home runs and 75 RBIs. Now, we all know the accolades for Julio Rodriguez. He's gonna win Rookie of the Year. He was the first 25-25 player in their debut season. Everything for Julio Rodriguez, everything just points that the sky is the limit for this guy. Of course, he did have a few injuries this year, which was to be expected, and if it wasn't for the slow start to the year, I bet you Julio's hitting upwards of 300. Julio had a little while of trying to get used to Major League pitching, which is bound to happen when you never play at AAA. And of course, the umpires, as terrible as they are at their jobs, weren't helping him out any, but Julio still managed to put up the best rookie campaign that I think we have ever seen for a player in the Seattle Mariners franchise. No doubt in my mind that even if the Mariners do add somebody like a Trey Turner this year, there's a good chance that Julio is still the best player on this team, and depending on what he can do in his second year in the bigs, the sophomore year of his career, Julio Rodriguez is already a superstar on the biggest stage. Of course, he was everything we wanted and more. He was always talked about during the postseason. We had the All-Star break, which was actually fun for once, because we got to watch Julio almost win the home run derby and also just be a star in the All-Star game itself. And with Julio's personality, I wouldn't be surprised if he is one of the faces of baseball in the next 5 years. Hell, he might even be a face of baseball now. This is the top 5 position players on the Seattle Mariners, and Joe is going to post the top 5 pitchers on the Seattle Mariners tomorrow. If that video has already been posted, it's right here on the screen now. I appreciate you guys checking out this one, and go Mariners.